All right, well, this is John Soricelli and the I Take That Personal podcast, and I'm really pumped for today's guest, Mr. Jason Young, Valley Homes and Estates. Jason's been a friend of mine now for years. We've been having a conversation for like 30 minutes without the camera on. Yep. So I figured, hey, I might as well introduce our podcast. And today's episode is brought to us by J&J Coastal Lending, our sponsor. You'll hear a little bit more from them as we progress. And we're going to do some fun things. Not only are we going to get to learn and know more about Jason personally, professionally, we're also going to do a little bit that you've probably come to notice on our show, a little bit of this or that. Right, we're gonna get a little fun and get a little personal, man.
Oh, great! Thanks
You're not
for the
prepared.
prep.
I didn't tell you. No,
not at all.
Nah, shit.
Not at all.
Why am I gonna tell you that? So, one of the things that I know about Jason, well, let's do this. Why don't you first off do your own little bio intro about you that you'd love our listeners to hear. It could be 30 seconds, it could be 3 minutes, whatever you want to do, Jason.
Well, let's see. Since I guess the relative connection here is real estate, we'll dive into the career introduction.
Let's do that. So, the career introduction.
Jason Young, broker, been in this business now for coming up on 17 years. Started in new homes and worked every angle of new home construction. Started my brokerage as a late night idea for a side gig that turned out to be extremely successful, and
here we
followed it, and here we go.
So let's talk about that. So you and I first met because you were the sales manager, and if I'm saying the title wrong, bear with me. Sales manager for a home builder out in Riverside, San Jacinto, kind of, San Bernardino County. And we were brought in as the preferred lender.
Yep.
So that's how we first met. So that goes back to now, 2016, 15, 16?
15,
16?
Yeah.
2015. And prior to that, you were in new home sales as well, working with a couple different builders. So why don't you give a little bit of kind of like the history of that new home sales kind of aspect of it, and then we'll eventually get into the fun stuff, but let's get a little bit of the business stuff done.
Right. So like the new home sales, also like most directions that I've taken in my career and in my life have been almost a fluke and come out of left field and been unexpected, right? So in college, I'm expected to be working for a painting company up in Walnut Creek.
Why are you expected to be working for a painting company in Walnut Creek?
So I'm on campus and I get talked into an internship. The internship turns into be a sales opportunity, right? Where we get to sell paint jobs. The only thing we did was brand them as a student-based company. We charged them 3 times as much money and made this company a ton of money, and they paid us very little. Either way, it was super successful. I was very successful within the company and outperformed most of the people, so they had offered me a position to come back.
Who are you selling painting services to?
It was called Varsity Painting. We were walking around door to door, looking at people's houses, knocking on the ones that needed a paint job.
Oh, you were the guy that knocked on my fucking door.
100%. Knock. I noticed that your fascia's falling apart. I'm sure you may not have noticed, so I'm here to sell you a paint job. So we did that. It was successful. The idea and the concept was I was going to come back full time and start training the next group of minions. And obviously,
and had you graduated?
I had graduated at that point now. So I worked it straight through graduation. I was going to come back, and you don't sell paint jobs in the rain. So we get 2 months off. I'm going back down Southern California, and I don't want to get bored. So I hit my dad up, who worked for a builder, and said, hey, how about I come live with you in that area for 2 months and start working for the builder, just learn a little bit about it, and felt absolutely in love with real estate and construction and new homes and everything it had to offer. So,
and there you are. So tell me a little bit about what the new home sale process looks like. Let's look at the buyer beware and the buyer process, right? Buyer beware, buyer process. Because, let's, stay on the work front a little bit. But so somebody who wants to go buy a new home, I'll kind of preface this a little bit. They see a balloon in the air. They see flags blowing in the wind. They get something in the mail and an email. They walk into the sales office. They sign in a piece of paper. Dun, dun, dun.
They go around the corner.
Game over. They go around the corner.
They open up the door to the dream. Beautifully decorated, incredible homes. Every single light is on. Everything is in its place. You fall in love with the product. Of course, it's not necessarily what you're buying, right? If we're talking buyer beware, right?
So I think, so walk me through the first, and I know the answer, but let's see if you picked up on the answer. I'm sure you did. Walk me through the first mistake of that whole scenario that they made.
Well, there's an over-promise, under-deliver in that scenario, in my opinion.
I would say the first mistake is they walked in and signed their name without their agent. And you're
look
the
at
agent
you.
here. Bro, you're the friggin' real estate agent, not me. The first mistake they did was walk in and sign their name without their agent because now their agent cannot be part of the transaction
Nope.
to help watch out for their best interests.
Correct.
So let's walk us through kind of what role and why, even when considering new home sales, it's important before you walk in and you sign your name on that piece of paper that you sign your agent's name in with you, I think is the process, right? But you acknowledge that agent there, right there, first time walking in, and tell me how that plays a role in new home sales, because all they're doing is picking something off a shelf, right?
Of course, right, sure. Except for the person that's on the other side of the table in that new home scenario that is looking like the representative representing your interest gets a paycheck every 2 weeks with the builder's name on it, right? So the reality of the situation is that they have one person that they're truly representing, which is the builder's interest. So you need somebody that is aware of what's going on with the scenario and has experience in that kind of a field that's going to be representing your interest. Now, the reality of the situation is it may not ever come to anything. Right? You may not need that person's experience. You may not need anything from them. Like that's the truth. But if it comes to something where you do, if you did not sign in with an agent originally, they can't represent you in that scenario. So then when you need expertise backing you, you don't have any choice.
And every market's different.
Of course.
Right? So, we look at the market in 2021, I'm sure it was very different as far as the relationship between builder, buyer, and agent. And now if we look at it today here in 2023, it's very different as well. So, how often are you representing buyers in new home sales versus a resale, meaning it's a property that's being sold by the buyer? And tell me a little bit about some of the success stories or the horror stories that you've seen along the way, one of which could even be your own deal, right? So let's talk about this.
Yeah, word. Well, let's start right where you prompted, right? So let's go back to why John will forever have my loyalty in the lending business. I personally, as a real estate agent, was representing myself in a purchase of a property. It was a new home construction down in Temecula, and fell in love with the property. Of course, at that point in time, the lender was offering some crazy incentives. They're inside preferred lender.
So why don't we talk about that? What are the incentives that a lot of times you'll get?
Yeah. So for the scenario at that point in time, I think they were giving us like a $15,000 credit.
To do what?
They could use towards our closing costs if we needed to for a rate buy down or an extended rate lock, or
what else could that be used for?
Sometimes they'll do them for design improvements or upgrades to the home, but the ones that the closing costs in that particular deal that I was getting were specific towards the loan. So
got it. And the scenario says for what? What's the requirement to get those?
that I need to use that lender.
Got it.
Right.
And on every transaction that someone goes into a new construction home, they have to get pre-approved by the lender on site.
Always.
Because that makes sure that the deal is going to be valid. But if you use their lender, while you don't have to, if you did, I'm going to give you 15 G's. So makes a lot of sense.
100%.
Got it.
Yeah. Now, the relationship that I had built with you were still, even though the scenario that was put in front of me from the lender on that side obviously was tough to match when you got $15,000.
100%.
But I was still relaying information back to you, making sure I had a sound deal. Came back and you said, yeah, fantastic deal. So let's fast forward now. Fast forward and rewind all at the same time. When it comes to buying a new construction home, it's not like a typical escrow. You're not buying a house that's already been completed so that you're going into a 30 or 45-day process to close on the property. The property needs to be built. So when I put down a deposit on my property that I was buying, it was dirt, right? So the house needed to be built. So my close date was 4.5 months out from when I purchased the property. Prior, call it 30, 45 days prior to that, we lock a rate on the lending process, and we're getting ready to close the deal. Everything's good all the way up until I think we were 2 weeks out from my closing
Something like
date.
that. Yeah, something like that.
All the upgrades have been selected. The house has been done. My moving plans are set in stone. Everything's good to go. I get a call from the lender, and the lender says, you don't qualify for your loan program anymore. I'm sitting here going, what do you mean I don't qualify for my loan program? Like I was overqualified when I first walked in. I've been in real estate at this point 12 years. Like you would think that I would understand enough about the process.
Yeah, and to just kind of interject here a little bit, the reason why a builder wants you to use their preferred lender and incentivizes you to use their preferred lender is because they don't want to build a custom home. Custom is a fair statement. They want to build a new home designed to meet your wants, your floor, your colors, because you get to pick out all that stuff. What appliances you want, maybe some modifications, and build this home for you, and then have you not be able to buy it. Of
course.
Have the loan fall apart.
Because then now they have to
Because
resell
now they have
property
to
with my
resell
taste.
a brand exactly. They have to resell a brand new home to a stranger that's not going to get the floor they wanted, or the cabinets they wanted, or the colors they wanted, and that takes away the value of buying a big portion of the value. So now here their preferred lender is coming back and saying you don't qualify a couple weeks out.
Yeah. So they say I don't qualify a couple weeks out, which means at this point in time, I'm about ready to lose the home that we spent all this time working towards. And don't forget, I've also created arrangements for me to move down there. So now I'm about to be homeless.
Yep.
So I pick up the phone. I call Captain Awesome, I think is what I called you at the time.
Come on,
remember?
now. I do. We got to bring that back.
You
dog.
don't say awesome nearly as much as you used to. John used to say awesome after almost everything that I would say. So I called him Captain Awesome. So I pick up the phone, dial Captain Awesome. I tell him the scenario. He goes, what? No. Send me all of your information. Send me the information on the loan. Let's make a longer story shorter and say, at the end of the day, you get me in the exact same loan program that they told me I don't qualify for, and get the deal closed within the 2 weeks without me being late by a single day. So at that point in time, whenever I introduce anybody to you, that is the story that I tell them. I don't tell them, hey, listen, go to Zillow and check out his 500 reviews. I say, here you go, direct from the mouth of me. This is the scenario. I have a house now as a result of this. So there's a buyer beware, right? Like they stepped me through the whole process. And at that point in time, as far as their lender was concerned, and that's, by the way, the person that the builder's listening to, I no longer qualify for a home. I can't buy it. They're about ready to pull the rug out from underneath me, and I would have lost it.
I mean, the short version of that, to come back without making this too long, is that it's just about understanding the products and the programs and the guidelines, because I had multiple conversations with their sales office later on about how this is exactly how it's going to work, and they still didn't believe me. So in any event, here we are. That's one of the buyer beware scenarios, and how it's important to bring a real estate agent in. And let's wrap up this conversation by just saying, what's a little bit of the negotiation that you're seeing in today's market that the agent's able to do and help with a new home sale that doesn't happen if there is no representation?
For sure. So I think that there is we'll call it an automatic incentive being applied from all builders right now in today's market, right? But from the outside perspective, we understand the demand that's in the market. We understand the number of homes it is that they're building. And with somebody like me that's had experience for as many years, you understand that, they're not going to paint the clear picture. So it gives you an opportunity to go in well-informed, knowing what's happening with other clients of yours, and then use that as a negotiation tool to try to get more.
Yeah, just like you would any other transaction, you're able to negotiate and be able to increase incentives, terms, upgrades, stuff along those lines. That doesn't happen when you don't have representation.
Of course.
All right, so let's move off of this stuff, because that was valuable, but not personal enough. How about that? So let's get into it. As you giggle away, you're like, oh, what's going to happen? So let's transition. Valley Homes and Estates. One of the things that I think is super unique about you, admirable, like while there are many, is your involvement in the community. We were just sitting here talking about a Super Bowl event that you put on. So let's talk a little bit about some of the community events that you're doing and why you're choosing to do them, what they're like. Let's have a whole conversation about that.
So I think it goes actually back to the original basis of what I see a real estate, like what my passion in real estate is, right? I don't look at myself as a person who sells homes, where ultimately that's what I do, right? I'm selling lifestyle, I'm selling community, I'm selling people's future, right? So when you're looking at it, there's a much deeper meaning that goes in there. And a lot of that for me, growing up in the childhood that I have two brothers and we're all pretty close in age. We grew up in a neighborhood that's like the ideal neighborhood where all the kids play every single day. And it created this environment that I love to be a part of. So I realized later on, like if you asked me what that house looks like, I couldn't tell you, period, hands down. I can tell you everything about the neighborhood. And I can tell you everything about every kid in that neighborhood. That's where my memory stemmed from. So when I think about that on a real estate standpoint, I'm like, well, that's the marketing pitch, right? That's the ploy, right? That's what we're doing. That's what we're going to build this. So instead, I just took two things that I really enjoy, real estate and community, and I put the two together. So for me, when it comes to community events, I do it in a wide range of things. So Super Bowl parties are just a small aspect of that. My farm is also the community.
Let's
I
just pause
live
for
in.
a second.
Yeah.
Pause for a second. Small aspect of that. Tell me about the small Super Bowl party, please. Please
Okay.
tell me about the small Super Bowl story.
I forgot we were talking about a Super Bowl party before we got
Tell me
onto
about
the
the
camera.
small Super Bowl party,
So
please.
me and two good friends, we threw a Super Bowl party. I think we had 250 attendants. We brought in 4 food trucks. We brought in a dessert truck. We brought in a couple bartenders, and we rented out the community clubhouse and turned it into one hell of a party.
Yeah, it sounds really small.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, and these are things, look, this was a way for me and 2 other members of the community to give back to our friends, families, and neighbors.
And you're creating what you grew up with and what you had and what you wanted. And like, that's so admirable.
Yep.
I fail in that a lot. I got to do better at that. I fail in that. I would have gone to your party and loved it. If I wasn't invited, but that's fine. No, I'm kidding. I would have next year. Text me now
Yes,
the invite.
yeah,
I know the
for
date.
sure.
No, that's fine. I'm not upset. It's not a little bit. Anyways, I would have if I lived in the community. I don't live in the community. I get it. If I would have lived in the community, I would have gone to your party. I would have loved it. I would have talked about how awesome the community is, and I would have benefited from it.
Of course.
But the difference is you created it.
Yep. Fair enough.
That's the difference between you and many people and myself, which is massively admirable, is that you created it. Tell me about Christmas.
Every year my company sponsors a Christmas light contest. Well, we're PC. We call it a holiday light contest throughout the community. I live in a community. My farm, back it up, right? My farm is
What's a farm?
My farm, the area that I do the most of my real estate deals.
Thank you.
Right. So my geographic farm, which is the area that I focus on, is a gated community of 509 homes that I happen to live in. Okay. So with that being said, it's very important. I do on average, year over year, I do typically anywhere between 35 and 40% of the deals within that community.
So let's just pause there. You do somewhere between 60 to 65% of your business outside the community. So you service all throughout, but that's where you tend to spend the most of your marketing.
Correct.
So continue.
Correct. So, and let's talk about the selfish side of it too. I, again, live there with my family and my 2 kids. So there's benefit that comes from all different sides of it. So as a way of me giving back to the community, one of the events that I do every year that I sponsor and cover in full is that we do a holiday light contest. And then I bring in 3 trucks that pull 40-foot trailers covered in hay bales. And we do a hay ride through the entire community. Hot chocolate and treats, and Santa makes it. Last year, actually, we switched it up, and the Grinch made a visit and pops out and gives all the kids something sweet to snack on. And then we back a charity. So Toys for Tots was one of the big ones that we've done, where then people bring in unwrapped presents and they use those to vote for their favorite house. And we take all those toys and we then get to deliver them to a family in need. So it's a win-win-win. I get to give back to the community. The community gives back to a worthy cause. And then at the end of the day, people walk away and have a really great time, and it's a great community experience.
And that's Christmas.
Yeah, that's Christmas. So I do, like, when you look at the bigger scheme of things, I run the social committee for my community now. I've now built the social committee up to a committee of, I think we have 6 people on the committee now. I do an event once a month. My next one, I'm doing a casino night. We'll have 150 people come to a casino night, and we're going to convert the clubhouse into a full casino, and we're going to do a bootleggers theme. Look, it's a great way for me to give back to the community and make sure that I got events and stuff.
And that's exciting, but you'll pull my heartstrings whenever it involves kids. I mean, at casino, like, yo, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna have fun. I get it. The adults get a night out. But when you're talking about what's Easter, I don't even know. Easter, you got come on, we got a Easter bunny. The
Easter bunny comes every single year.
We bring in 4 trucks of this.
Yeah,
the helicopter drops that.
Yeah, we do.
We donate the candy to the kids. I'm not making fun of it. It is amazing how you check all these boxes, right?
Sure.
And it's motivating, and it's admirable, and it's it's just fantastic. So let's take this one step further even now. Tell me about the golf tournament.
So this would be my 5th year doing the golf tournament. So I've been a type 1 diabetic since the age of 4, right? So that's a big part of my identity.
So
right?
tell me, what does a type 1 diabetic mean?
So, type 1 diabetes means that I'm insulin dependent. So my body doesn't produce insulin like yours does. And so I get to supplement it with an insulin pump. And it's, thanks to technology and some of the advancements within technology, I live a very, very normal life, right? So
super normal.
It does not, it only comes into play when I want it to, and it's my excuse. I'm sorry, I'm shaky right now, so we can't talk. But it's so like I live a very, very normal life. Well, as a result, like I was looking for something when I first started my brokerage. I was looking for a cause to launch my brand, right? Like how do we throw a party? Golf has been a big part of my life. So I threw a golf tournament. Now, the golf tournament turned out to be wildly successful. A lot of people came. We were able to raise some money. So now we're like, okay, this needs to go towards something bigger. How do we do this? I'm always looking to try to take it up one level, right? You try to take it up 3 every step you take. I take it up 1, right? But so it's always about just trying to grow from the idea from the last time. So then it was like, well, how do we make this bigger? How do we raise some money? How do we support a cause? So I went to something near and dear to me, and that meant a lot to me. And I back juvenile diabetes, JDRF, which is Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And this will be my 5th year having the tournament. Last year, we raised almost $10,000.
That's wild.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Well, look, and props to you. I mean, it's from the support of people like you that come out as sponsor. You've sponsored my tournament every single year. You've been one of the co-sponsors of the tournament. You've helped me push it through to the next level. And every year, we just go out there with the idea that we're going to make it a really, really good time.
It is. I was going to say, it's fun too. Like you guys do their teams, you dress up in costumes.
Of course.
You got the donuts, you got the food, we got the putting contest that we do all the different aspects of it, sponsors. And I mean, you have, it's a fantastic tournament for, an individual to put on, right? For lack of a better way to put it. And then you're raising money for a fantastic cause that's near and dear to your heart. So let's spend a moment and talk about that. Tell me, how did juvenile diabetes at 4 years old impact you?
So at 4 years old, let's be real. Like I'm sure it was super, super impactful and changed my life drastically. I don't remember much of any of that.
That's good.
Right? So I was blessed with 2 incredible parents that I am sure if you ask me, hands down, would it be harder to be a diabetic or a parent of a diabetic? I'm going to say a parent of a diabetic. I could imagine the way that it rocked their world. But what they did was they focused on making life normal for me. Now, with that being said, I'm slightly not normal, right? So like, I'm also not the kid that's ashamed by anything. I'm the kid that's in 5th grade raising my hand being like, I'm diabetic. You guys want to hear about it? Watch me take a shot. So, but either way. So but it definitely became a part of my identity. If you look at the way it's affected me overall in life, I feel like I've grown a lot from it. I've learned how to overcome, obviously, hurdles and taking care of your health and dealing with things at a younger age and through college that a lot of people don't have to deal with. But at the end of it all, I feel like I became a better person as a result. It's also, like I said, become a big part of my identity and who I am. And so it really hasn't, outside of that, hasn't affected me. Much.
No, for sure. But obviously it's, I think that there's interesting how we look back at the butterfly effects of all the strings in life and how they connect.
Yes.
Right. And, you can see the connections of how this has become a positive thing for you that you have utilized into your altruism, the word I was looking for earlier, to be able to put together these events, to be able to send, sense of community because of what you had, growing up. And, it's interesting. People say they either, become their parents or they go the opposite direction, right? Like, and that's just interesting because that's just saying you can do either one. But, but like, obviously you've continued to want to create the lifestyle and the community and the give back, but yet your personal kind of things and how people have helped you and impacted you along the way has been pretty fantastic. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of our this or that as we go, because it's going to lead me to other questions here. So let's do a quick this or that, right? Rams or Chargers?
Chargers all day. Born and raised in San Diego. Now, with that said, hurt me when they moved to LA.
Yeah, man.
Hurt.
I know it did. I know about this stuff.
Yes.
So tell me, I was like, I don't know if you're going to like break up with them for life, because the Chargers situation was like another event that you put on.
Always. So everything's always an event in my life. Let's be real. So, okay. So this is like really the path that it takes. I'm a season ticket holder at the Chargers. I live in Temecula. I've drive down.
This is back then.
Yeah, this is back then when they're in San Diego. Every morning on Sunday that it was a home game, I would wake up at 5:30. I would drive to my brother's house and pick up. We had an ambulance that had been converted into a full, we called it the Fambulance. It was converted with keg taps run through it, and it was all in Chargers colors. We'd pick that up and 12 of our closest friends. We would then pick up all the stuff for tailgating. We'd be at the game by 9 because we got it an hour early. We would then throw a party outside, tailgating party with a lot of people till the game. We'd go in at 1 o'clock.
Tents, foods, barbecues,
all
the
of
whole
it.
jam.
Cornhole and the whole nine. We'd go in. We would proceed to lose the game, which was always depressing. We would then come back out and turn it into a pity party post party. And then we would drive back home. By the time we got home, it was 10 o'clock.
And you'd be at work Monday morning.
Yes.
And that's the end of it.
So Sundays were a 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Charger commitment. Now, I converted my entire son's room into a Chargers room. We'll call it diehard. They moved to L.A. I cried for a month. It hurt. Everything hurt. And then we changed my son's room to a Harry Potter room because that's what he liked at the time.
Chargers were dead to you.
Mm-hmm. Guess who falls in love with the Chargers? My son.
I wonder why. He only grew up in a room full of them.
Could care less about the Chargers before. They moved to L.A. He's like, all about L.A. Chargers, Dad. I'm like, L.A. what? Like, we can't even talk about it. Either way, brings me back in. Love my son. He's 11 now. He lives for the Chargers. He actually, I'd say more often than not, I have to take his phone from him because he's watching highlights of games from 4 years ago. He's just obsessed. So it brought me back in. I never lost my love for the players. But I struggled with LA in front. So,
all right, we're here.
Chargers, not Rams.
All right,
day.
so we're going to take a quick little break here from our sponsor. You guys are going to hear a little bit from J&J Coastal Lending, and then when we come back, we're going to pick it up with a couple more this and that's and a few little learning experiences that stick with Jason. So there you go, right? Today's episode is brought to us by J&J Coastal Lending. J&J is an independent mortgage broker with a network of over 70 different investors offering hundreds of loan programs. Whether your personal loan needs are simple or complicated, if you need a $200,000 loan or a $2 million loan, J&J will find the best loan program and rate. FHA, VA, conventional, jumbo, or a first-time homebuyer in need of down payment assistance. Regular income docs or outside the box, no documentation loan options. J&J has a solution to meet your unique needs. Visit www.thinkjnj.com for a no-cost, no-commitment evaluation. And when you're there, mention this podcast and J&J will give you $1,000 in lender credits on your next home loan. All right, so we are back here with Jason Young, Valley Homes and Estates, and we're having a fantastic conversation. We just finished talking about the Chargers. Listen, I'm a New York Giants fan, so I've had my highs and lows. You know, here we are with all I know is that we took down Tom Brady twice in a row, Super Bowls.
And I like Peyton Manning.
Peyton's a good dude.
I picked the better Manning, I think.
I don't know about that. I mean, listen, it depends on who you ask at this stage of the game.
Fair enough.
But, we had a pretty decent season here. So let's get into unplanned, unexpected. Let's see what Jason can share with me here. Let's talk a little bit about we'll go personal still, ideal vacation or like time away. What would the ideal vacation look like for you?
Well, I just got back from a cruise, first cruise ever. We did a Disney cruise out of Miami, went down to their little private island thing. We did it for my daughter's 10th birthday. It pretty much checked a lot of those.
Ideal
felt like I got time with my wife. I got time with my kids. We got time away from technology. We had 5 days that were together that were incredible. It was completely relaxed from day one. I could name 1,000 other ones.
No, you'll feel good about that one. I like it. So let's flip it now to a business side. Mm-hmm. You work with buyers and you work with sellers. Mm-hmm. Which do you prefer to work with?
Sellers.
Why?
Sellers, I like buyers, but sellers, I feel like when I'm selling a property, I'm meeting a lot more buyers, right? And I'm helping or talking to or carrying on conversations with a lot more people. It also allows me to control the process a little bit more. So when I'm selling a property, I'm creating the vision from day one to the end of it, right? I control what the house is going to look like. I control the experience that those buyers are going to have when they walk in through the front door. I control the experience through the escrow the majority of the time. And then I get to help deliver homes and keys to a seller, a buyer at the end of the process. If I'm working with a buyer, I can only control so much. I don't know what's going to be I know what the listing photos look like, but I don't know what's going to be on the other side of that door, right? I don't know how the process is going to go. I don't know the way that the listing agent has left the property for us. And I don't know how many properties we're going to be walking in and out of and seeing through the process. So if I had to choose, it'd be listings.
But obviously you help everybody. So
Always.
we're there for you. So what are some mistakes or what are some things that if you were going to give one or two words of advice for someone before they were to get into the process of buying a home, or one or two words of advice for someone before they get into the process of selling a home, what would that be?
Okay. So first and foremost, when it comes to selling a home, finding the right representation and the right real estate agent to guide you through the process.
How do they do that? How do
Early
they find
on.
that?
Well, there's a couple different ways. One, you call me.
There
Two,
you go.
we all know that one.
Holla at your boy.
Two, you call me. Three, no. But look, referrals are a big deal, right? I do a lot of my business on referral, right? Listen to words that have come from someone else. If you don't know somebody that's sold a house, the other thing that you can do is turn to other people's words. So you've got opportunities to look at, different types of reviews on Zillow and different places like that. Video has become a big aspect of thing. I'm not going to be the real estate agent for everybody. Shocker, right? But I'm my own kind of person, and there's going to be certain people out there that are going to be attracted to me as a person. They're going to vibe with me as a person. You should find people that speak your language, like when it comes to things, because they're going to have it's going to be easy for them to speak to your interest. So use YouTube to go on there and watch property videos and listing stuff. Instagram with reels these days, and the way that people are able to get a glimpse of somebody's personality. I think that's huge. So first and foremost, find good representation. When you have that good representation, the next biggest piece of advice is listen to them. Right? I think you do those two things, you can be successful. The interesting thing that I find a lot when it comes to sellers is people hire me and then fight me the whole time. And I'm sitting here going, well, why'd you hire me then? Obviously I should have hired you. And I'm not saying it to be insulting or anything, or just to try to be funny, but the reality of the situation is you hired me for my expertise. I got 17 years of experience in this game. We're sitting here at the table right now. You may have sold 4 or 5 houses, which is fantastic, and I applaud that. But at the same point in time, I did that last month.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So do that. So there's my advice for sellers. When it comes to buyers, the biggest piece of advice that I give buyers first and foremost is don't shop houses, shop community. So I live in an area, right in the area of Temecula. When you're looking at it, there's a lot of different communities. And you may have one house that's only 2 miles down the road from the other house. It's going to be a completely different culture, completely different environment, and completely different feel. So when I bring somebody new, we've had a lot of transplants from Orange County, LA County, San Diego County moving out into the Temecula area, mostly just because you get more bang for the buck. But the first thing that I do is I sit down and I spend time talking to them about what their interests are. How old are your kids? Why are we moving here? What are we looking for? Most people give me the canned answer. Well, we need 3 bedrooms. We need this. We need that. That's not what I'm asking about, right? We're talking about community. So I think that there's your focus. Focus on community. I'd say that the next step is being prepared. And being prepared is going to be talking to the right lender, making sure that you understand the financing. You may think that you can afford $1 million home. You might be able to. You might be able to afford $1.5 million. You might be able to afford $500,000. But the big conversation that I'm having with clients, those are the two things. First, we're talking about community. Second, we're talking about making sure that you're qualified. You understand what it takes to buy a home and where your payment's going to be, because those are the two most important things.
So how does somebody get a feel for and shop community?
So that, again, comes down to people that understand an area and an expert in that area. So I think that you're putting a lot of trust into your real estate agent at that point because you haven't been there. Now I always encourage people, right? Be kind of that weird couple that drives through the neighborhood throughout the weekend and gets a feel for how things are, right? But
are the garage doors open? Are the kids outside playing?
How many people are at this park that I'm paying my HOA fees to use, right? So on and so forth. And then, the other things are going to be like, what does your daily life look like? Do you work from home? Do you commute to work? How often do you go to the grocery store? How much do you care? I mean, because you might be 15 minutes from a grocery store if you're buying one of these houses that are out in wine country. That might be a big deal to you because you're the kind of person that likes to buy your food fresh and cook dinner fresh every night.
Yep.
So there's just, through a bunch of qualifying answers and questions and stuff that goes back and forth, you need to trust your real estate agent to kind of have an idea of what they think you want in a community. And then when they start to describe that and lay that out, then you guys are having a conversation. It goes from there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you're talking about this, right? And you're talking about this from the context of like, hey, I'm in this general vicinity of, city counties, right? That has these communities, that have these homes that are built, right? I had almost an identical conversation with an agent in New York discussing cities. And these aren't communities. There is not like, hey, there's these walls around these, 5 miles with 500 homes in them.
Right.
These are cities, and the differences between cities and towns and neighborhoods. So community can be a lot more than just, I've pulled into this area of 500 homes. Even in my neighborhood, very candidly speaking, I'm in Huntington Beach, California, right? And our community that was developed, there's no gates, right? But the area, the tract of homes that were built, I think is like 5 streets wide, right? Maybe 5, 6 streets wide in one area. And we're 2 streets on the wrong, we should be 2 streets over. 2 streets over are where all the kids are. 2 streets over are where the younger families are. 2 streets over is where they block off the whole street for 4th of July. 2 streets over is where they do all that stuff. Our street is more of the original owners, a little bit older, right? A little bit of people there. The houses haven't turned over as much. So we don't have a dog. So I'm not like out walking the neighborhood, but we haven't become friends with anybody 2 streets over.
Of course.
And from that perspective,
because you're an outsider.
Exactly.
From that 2 streets away.
What am I going to do? I'm going to like just hang out on their street? Like, I'm just going to, hi, I'm John.
Find them on Facebook.
Like, I mean, what am I going to do, right? I'm gonna what I have to do? I have to throw a Christmas party like you do.
For sure.
See?
Yeah.
This is what I have to do. I have to put on a community event like you do. But in all reality, I'm just 2 streets over. So knowing these little things, listen, not every street, every neighborhood, every community has a home that meets your needs and your price point that is available when you want to buy.
Yep.
I get it.
Totally.
But you're making informed decisions. You're making choices around the communities you want to be in. And people miss how important it is for your agent to really spend that time asking you these personal questions.
100%.
To understand your values from a buyer's perspective, what's important to you, and find the right properties. I mean, how many times have you shown somebody a home in an area or community that they weren't thinking about, but because you knew about their personal needs,
of course,
it ended up resulting in the right property for them?
Yeah. So like, I'll say that 9 out of 10 buyers come to you with a property already on their phone, right? So they've come to me. They're like, hey, Jason, I got your name from my friend Susie, blah, blah, blah. She said, you're fantastic. We're looking for a real estate agent. We found this house in Temecula. We're super interested in it. Okay, tell me about it. Tell me about the house. Don't just show it to me. I don't care how many bedrooms it is. I don't care what it's listed for. Tell me about the house. What's drawing you into the house? Oh, we really like the color scheme. Okay, it's good to know, right? Like blah, blah, this and that. So now we're having a conversation. So if I just say, you know what, this is an easy deal.
I'm going to go show you this house, yeah.
Boom. Bring her in, show her, talk up everything she just told me she loves about the house, get my commission 30 days later, move on, life's great, okay? That's just, you can't stop there. So you got to have a conversation, you got to talk about it. Now give her a little bit more context on the community and a little bit more context on, everything else in the environment in the area, and you may find out that house is completely wrong for her. Now I know what her taste is, but I can find that same house in 15 different neighborhoods. Right?
It's that, and also the color scheme can be painted, right? Like the color scheme can be changed.
Yes.
No, and it's not, and I get it, because it's not, once again, it's not what people do or they think about or they understand, and it's the first thing that starts with them, for sure. So let's keep, I like this better when I'm mixing in these, this or that. So I'm not doing it at the end. I like mixing these in right now. Maybe that's going to be more of my thing. So let me hit you with a different this or that. I got some ideas here. Okay, I know the answer to this. But I'm going to share it anyway.
Maybe I surprise you.
You're not going to surprise me. You're not going to surprise me.
I'm going to answer it wrong.
You're not going to surprise me. But it goes back to a lot of what you were talking about. Has, some of the events you put on, some of the, even the Chargers experience, the bus, all that great stuff. So, beer or wine?
Neither.
I know the answer to that. See,
you do.
I know the answer to that, right? You don't drink.
No, never have.
Never have. Never did.
No.
So.
Weird identifying thing of me, yes.
I've had, it's interesting because I haven't drank since I've been 18 years old or so. Now, it's not like I won't ever have a drink or hold a beer just for the fun of it, but I haven't gotten drunk or sat down and had a drink for years, right? And that's been just, we can talk about that in another episode. But yours has been predominantly health related for a while, right?
Sure. So So this is the interesting thing, right? Because it comes up a lot because people always ask me why. First thing they think you have a problem. Then you have to tell them, no, I never drank.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Then
No, I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah, exactly. So once you get past that, it's not a problem.
Not like there's anything wrong.
Then
but we're just
then people like wide eyes. First thing they do is they compliment you, and you're like, wow, they're drinking. It's my favorite. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Shots.
Like, yeah. Like, okay. But it's kind of weird. But either way, so no, it's never been a thing. But that question's come up a lot. People are like, well, diabetes, right? That's why you don't drink. I'm like, well, it's probably a huge portion of why I don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I was to think about it, I don't think I'd drink even if I wasn't diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's actually a control thing,
Yeah,
which probably
me too.
stems from it.
100%. That's my thing
Yeah.
too.
Like, I'm like, look, I want to get myself home safe. I want to get my loved one home safe.
I want to leave when I want to
Yes.
leave. I want to drive when I want to drive. I
sure.
don't want to forget what I did.
But then like take it one step further. I don't have any problem being the life of the party. I don't have any problem. I love the environment that alcohol creates.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it on. And I remember everything.
You know what I used to always say? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, listen, I want to be clear on saying, like, it's not like I've never been around alcohol or didn't drink or stuff like that. But anyone who knows me well knows I don't drink,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even when we go back into like 25 years old, being out, hanging out in the club, in the party, and I used to say, I buy alcohol great.
Yeah.
Buying bottles,
Oh, big time.
champagne in the air,
Mm-hmm.
have a table. I'd sip on a little bit of glass of champagne or maybe have one or two, but that'd be the end of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, you know, that I'm not drinking in any capacity, and maybe I sipped on a glass, but I'd say I always buy alcohol great, but
Yeah.
I don't actually drink.
So
it,
this is the thing I'll say, and I'll be interested to get your take on this because
Sure.
I've noticed this. There's only been a few moments in my life that I felt like not drinking impacted my life for the worse, not the better, right? And one of those was when I was in college, but then I found look, everybody's drinking, and like I said, I spent a lot of time around that environment, and I enjoyed the party, but everything was around drinking games. So it's kind of weird when someone's playing beer pong against you and you have Diet Coke, right? Like it just got weird for them. So there was a separation that I felt there. The next time that I started to feel that separation was not until I got into my mid 30s, where the common get to know somebody was, let me take you out and buy you a beer. Great. Let's do it. I don't have any issues in showing up. You order a beer, I get a soda water. It's no big deal. We're both drinking. We're both enjoying our company. You're not going home hammered, and neither am I. Life is great. But there was a feeling of distrust and connection from the other side. Now, maybe you don't feel that because you could sip on a beer and be fine, but I'd be curious to
So
hear
it's
your take.
interesting that you share that thing. So let's come back and say, so first off, I didn't do the go away to college life. So I wasn't a beer pong guy.
You missed out.
Okay, I did. I missed out. I missed out a lot of that stuff. I didn't do like that. I did the community college. I'm working full time. I'm in the clubs as a promoter. I'm in the clubs packing the party,
Of course.
and a lot of that
makes
is
sense.
also me in a P coat outside letting people in. Like this is 18 years old, right? So we're doing the whole vibe. And I wouldn't have an issue having a drink, but I didn't drink, and it never really was a thing that people noticed.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't like just in the bar hanging out with everybody. And that's kind of when I stopped. I stopped drinking at about 18 years old because I got super fucking drunk one night, almost died, like just call it what you call it. And then like the next day I went back to go try to have a shot and I felt like I was going to puke.
And you're like,
So I
nope.
just didn't ever like get the acquired taste and just never did it again. And then it became a little bit of like my thing. I don't drink, I drive, I come home, I'm like,
Right.
all that stuff. So
It almost was a differentiator. Makes you
yes,
stand
100%,
out.
in
Yeah.
a positive fashion. And also it still gave me, because I'm working full time, I'm up in the morning, I'm going to work, I'm doing these different things, I'm driving, I'm leaving when I want, all that stuff. And a lot of this is also in New York when I was there. So the other thing that you're saying about a separation, I never had the separation because I didn't like have a like, no, I'm not going to have the drink. So if I felt like I was in a situation, and not peer pressure, right? But if I was like, oh, we're going to go out to the bar and I want to get a beer and we're going to have a drink or whatever.
Yeah.
As I get older now, I have less willingness to accommodate someone else to make them comfortable.
Right. Okay.
But like in my 30s, I'd get a beer and I'd sip on it and I wouldn't drink it, and it'd sit there and they'd have 5 and they say, oh, you want another one? I say, no, I really don't drink or whatever, but like I just got one. Like or I just wouldn't have one. I'd be like, nah, I really don't drink. Like,
Right.
so I played it how I wanted to play it whatever I felt like in that moment. Now, I will tell you, in my 40s, I've said this more than once, and my wife fucking hates that I say that. I'm like, yo, I think I need to, like, become a man. Like, I need to fucking grab something brown, like a glass with something brown, sit in the backyard, smoke a cigar, and drink something fucking brown. Like, this looks like fun. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? I own a business. I work fucking hard. I got kids. I come home from night.
It's supposed to be my release.
I'm supposed to, like, go to the backyard, fucking light a cigar, and drink something brown.
Of course.
And my wife's like, you're an asshole. And I'm like, thank you. But she's like, you know, you don't, like, try to aspire to become a drinker. Like,
sure.
And I'm like, yo, but it looks like all you guys are having so much fucking fun. So I am struggling a little bit more now in the latter part of my life with, like, FOMO.
Yeah.
FOMO is the best way I can put it. And I don't have a reason to not drink other than I don't like the way this shit tastes. So it's funny. Even, like, New Year's, we were at a buddy of ours' house, and they had some drinks, and I was like, yeah, make me one. And I took one, and I drank one, and, like, the whole world's like, well, you're having a drink? It's like, the fuck?
And then you didn't need that.
And then
it just made it weird.
It was fine, right? And then everyone assumes any joke you tell or smile, you make you're drunk, right? Like, it's just a whole.
Well, he doesn't drink, so he must be hammered.
It just becomes a whole thing. But anyway,
well, look, I get exactly what it is that you're saying, but for me, like, you and me are in a business of connection.
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, the success that we're going to have with our clients has to do with trust, has to do with connection and comfortability. Well, what I found, I mean, the good news is that the majority of the time we're not picking our clients up at a bar.
Yeah.
Right. So that's beneficial. But what I have found is that there's a next level to the relationship that you have with your clients that it's sometimes I feel like I might be missing out on because you're not there.
Say, I'm gonna say back to you. You got FOMO. You ain't missing out on it. It's just FOMO. Bro, you're throwing the parties, like, you're doing the events, you're there, you're part of it, you remember it. There ain't nothing that you're not part of. So
that's true.
You're creating the FOMO here. So
fair enough.
All right. So let's do a little personal here on this one here. I've asked this one before, but I like it. It's an oldie but goodie for me. Pizza or tacos?
I'm going to go with pizza, but it would depend on the night.
You're the first person I think to ever say pizza with.
Everyone else says tacos?
I'm all pizza all the time. Hamburgers or hot dogs?
Hamburger.
100%. Yeah. Cheeseburger for me.
Double if you're getting serious.
Cheeseburger for me. All right. Give me something on your bucket list that you haven't done yet that you want to do. What's on your bucket list?
We'll say Golf Scotland.
Dang, son. Aren't you going to, like, a trip overseas?
England.
When are you going?
England, going in May.
All right.
Yeah. So with a native. So we're going to Manchester City, going to a Manchester City Chelsea game, and gonna play a couple fantastic Royal Lytham and a couple other great courses out there. And he's from there, so we're gonna play. We got 12 guys going, and we're gonna go play 12 guys that he grew up with in a Ryder Cup. It's gonna be great.
I want to be Jason Young.
Man,
I
me
want
too.
to be Jason Young, dude.
Me too.
Jason Young's got a life.
My wife says this to me all the time. She goes, I don't understand how you do all this. I was like, I don't either.
You should say it's because, honey, you allow me to do it.
See, that's because I'm not as good at sales as you are.
Listen, it ain't fucking sales, bro.
Yeah.
Listen,
I tell her all the time. I won't tell you. Like, literally, I probably say 4 times a year. I go, I got to call John so I can figure out the right way to say this.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, sure. Because you just have a way with words. Like, and you're like,
all right, but you're talking about professionally, not personally.
No. Both. Bro, like, I ask you your opinion on something, you spit it off the top of your head, and I'm like, I should have written that down. I'm going to start recording everything. We should do this.
You're going to carry on the camera crew? That's
100%.
funny, man. That's 100%. Funny. All right, so your bucket list. So since you asked me so kindly what my bucket list items were, I'll share you with one of my bucket list items.
It's take me to Scotland. No, I'm just kidding.
No, the one, this is going to be a wild one.
Uh-huh.
It's going to fucking happen.
Okay.
I'm putting it on film.
Okay.
It's happening.
It's there.
I am so far away from this.
Okay.
It is like so far.
Okay.
You know the squirrel suit flying, jumping out of a plane?
No way.
In a fucking squirrel suit?
No.
100%.
No way.
100%.
Yeah, you're really far from that.
So far.
And way too old.
I got kids and that whole shit. My wife.
You kidding? How much life insurance you getting before you go?
I am manifesting this event.
Okay.
I am 100% starting to take steps in my life. I'm not physically active anymore. My back's trashed. I haven't been to the gym enough. I got to improve my diet. I got so many physical steps I have to take. I got 2 kids. My wife don't want me.
Suit.
My wife don't want me jumping out of a plane, I'm sure. Listen,
All right, hold up. Have you ever
Instagram-
jumped out of a plane?
Skydove once with my wife.
Okay.
When we were like in our late 20s.
All right.
With some little dude trapped in my back. Right, like the tandem like jump out of a plane with some
control
guy.
the.
I mean, I pulled the plug, like
course.
I pulled the thing, but the
he
guy
had the backup. Yeah.
I'm so far away from this.
Okay.
Here's the deal.
Uh-huh.
Instagram has ruined my life in that regards.
Because you've been watching it?
It appeared on my feed. These fucking guys flying.
Okay.
They're fucking flying.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say, like, when you first started building this up, I was like, I'm going to be an accountability partner.
Now you're not going to do it for me?
Hell no.
Oh,
I'm out.
Come on, dude.
I'm out, bro.
Why are you tapping out?
Unless it would be super supportive for me to be on the ground waiting for you.
I'm not asking you to jump in the plane.
No, absolutely not. I am 100% down to drive you there, and I am down to help edit the film afterwards. But
Listen, you have to watch some of these dudes.
Oh, I've seen it.
Girls and everybody else.
Yes.
They're fucking flying.
I know, 100%.
And they're like in some beautiful country around this, like. So I'm so far away from this, but I'm doing that. But thank you for asking.
Okay, but by what age? But look, smart goals, right?
I can't make the decision myself.
You can't do it past 50.
Oh, I'm thinking it's gonna be 50.
50 at 50.
I'm thinking.
You're
Wait
like
a second. 50th birthday.
50th birthday squirrel suits.
Okay, here's the deal.
Okay.
I am married with children. I
Yep.
don't make my own decisions like this.
100%.
Okay, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully.
No,
I'm
of
saying
course.
that respectfully.
100%.
That I'm 44 right now.
So,
So 6 years, 50th birthday, I'm gonna do the squirrel suit. That means I got to be like, I wonder how many times I have to have skydove. Is that the right way to say that?
yes.
Skydiving, skydove.
Yeah,
I
like,
wonder how many times I have to have done that.
I mean,
before.
I imagine you at least have to have gone solo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have to be certified. I wonder okay, I don't know if but it's a number. I wrote it down. 50.
Okay.
All right.
50. All right. Like,
We're gonna
hey,
work
you
towards
know
this.
what, though? Like, I have seen just in the amount of time that we've known each other, when you manifest things,
This is happening.
100%.
We're sitting in a
believe it.
studio that we manifested.
I know.
We're sitting in a studio that we manifested.
It's been an
And I don't know
incredible
if I
progression.
manifested or bought it. I don't know which one's which, but like,
Is there a difference?
Is there a difference? There is. All right. So that was it. So give me. Let's. We're kind of coming up here a little bit on time. Let's come back here and do one or two more this or that's, and then I'm going to ask you to share with me one or two things. So
Got it.
Give me a beach or snow.
Probably beach.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the fucking hot, so it's hot over there.
Yeah, I like the heat. I don't like sand. I'm gonna be on. I grew up on beaches.
Yeah, you're in the desert golfing all the time. You're in
Well,
the
that I'm all about. I don't like being in the sand there either. I like the fairway, but either way, like
So, you binge a show on Netflix, or you kind of watch it one episode at a time?
binge.
You're a binger,
Always,
huh?
yeah. Well, mostly just because I'm anything that I do, I have an addictive personality.
I'm not a binger. I do not want to start a show unless I know I have, like, ideally 2 seasons.
Uh-huh.
But I want to watch, like, 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then I'll come back and watch another 1 or 2. Like, I don't get to watch much TV right now, but when I can and it's like 9 o'clock at night and I want to watch a show, I want to know I could sit down and watch something I like so I don't binge it, because then it's like, fuck, what am I going to find next?
But do you stay on one show or do you interlace multiple?
Predominantly one show.
Okay.
Until it does something dumb, and then I'm like, ugh. Now
Then you move on.
and then it's like hard for me to get back to it.
Got it.
All right, give me a success story that sticks with you.
Man, there's I feel like there's a lot of them. So a success story that sticks.
Whatever.
With me.
It's a family that you helped. It's a problem that you overcame. It's a hurdle that you won.
Yeah, I'd say that the ones that stick out the most to
Finding
me,
a
and
fair
we'll keep it general, right? But the way that it sticks out the most to me is somebody that's come to me, we will say broken, because they've tried to go through the process and because of their representation failed, and you're able to come in and achieve
Their
that
goals.
for them. Those are ultimately the success story that, because the gratitude that you feel
Sure.
from the other side of the table goes above and beyond anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I was to narrow it down to one thing, right, that I would say those are the success stories that really stick with me. Because I think home ownership is something that I wish for everybody. I really do. And I think a lot of people in this day and age, especially with all the TV shows and the stuff that we watch and the, whatever the selling sunsets and all those different types of stuff and the $1 million listing things, I think people lose a perspective of how big of a deal it is to own a property.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and like especially in this day and age, at the prices and the affordability it takes to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that have come out of nothing and done that for themselves, and I think that it should be celebrated. And I think that it's crazy that people like. I feel like there's like almost like an atmosphere out there that people are just like, you don't own more than one property. Like it's like that's like the feeling you start to get. Like everyone needs to be these entrepreneurial investors that own a portfolio of properties. Well, hold up. Like celebrate the big deal, man. You own a piece of real estate. That's yours. Like, and I think that like at the end of the day, every single sale is that. So like boil it down to that all of them are successes. So,
and with that, I think we're going to wrap it up today. So Jason, I enjoyed our conversation.
Me as well.
I appreciate you being here.
100%.
And I think there's some extra stuff that we can talk about next time that we haven't talked about today.
Next time. Look at that.
That's it. You're coming back. You're a reoccurring now. You're a reoccurring. Well, I appreciate you guys listening. Once again, this is John Soricelli and the I Take That Personal podcast. And, well, I think we got a little personal.